Hello and welcome to the Pop Council Podcast, the show where we cover everything in pop culture. Each week on this show, we'll discuss topics in the geek world, as well as various fandoms such as Disney, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, theme parks, and everything in between. I'm Jami Philbrick, entertainment journalist and critic for We Live Entertainment, and a member of the Hollywood Critics Association. This week, we have a great show for you. We will be discussing the new The Batman photo and score tease, the first photo and footage from Peacemaker, the new Nightmare Alley trailer, Sung Kang's role in Obi-Wan Kenobi series, What If Episode 6 spoilers, and much, much more. As always, I am joined by Wendy, my great co-host. Wendy, how you doing?
Doing so good. How are you, Jamie?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, great weekend. How was yours?
It was fantastic. We just did a lot of. There's some like weekend meetings that I took. So if there's some opportunities that are coming, got slightly more caught up with my editing. So I'm always in an editing hole. So I got a little bit more caught up, and then just kind of spent the Sunday a little bit more relaxed and healed.
Oh, yeah. That's nice. My mom's in town from Boston, so we've been having a good time hanging out and doing stuff in the sun, which is always nice. Wendy, it is not a Pop Council podcast without a third council member, and we have the great Nestor's here. Nestor, woo!
Nestor!
Oh yeah!
Ooh.
Happy belated Batman Day, everybody.
Happy
That's
belated
right.
Batman
We had Batman Day over the weekend. Nestor, of course, you are the president of the Hollywood Critics Association. But why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself, the website that you work for, that you run, and as well as, we've been asking our guests, what is sort of like your pop culture thing? You know what I mean? Like what got you sort of, what was the gateway drug? Star Wars, Marvel, like what was the thing? So introduce yourself and talk about that, please.
My name is Nestor Bentancor. I am originally from Uruguay, South America. I started a website, desdehollywood.com, over 10 years ago. And then like 6 years ago, I began my own kind of YouTube review channel called Nestor Cine in Spanish. So doing Spanish things in Spanish, things bilingual, and invite everybody that enjoys pop culture to take a look on those outlets. And then the thing that really got me not just into the geek sphere but movies in general was I would say the first two Superman movies.
Oh yeah,
with Christopher Reeves. I mean, those were the films that really took me to a magical place, and I really believe that a man can fly. So it was the John Williams score, it was the cast, the script, everything. And I think that for me, it was kind of my Star Wars. When you hear people and filmmakers talking about that movie that really made them fall in love with this, I feel the same with the two first movies, actually. And I cheat a little bit when I give that answer, because to me, those are kind of one thing, and I just love it.
That's a great answer. We've been on doing this show for a little while, and I haven't heard anyone say, Richard Donner's Superman films. And of course, we just lost
surprisingly
the great Richard Donner. Yeah. And it really was sort of the films that, I think every Marvel director and, DC director of the last 10 or 20 years would probably say that Richard Donner's Superman is the source, is the original to all these films. So good stuff. Well, let's stay in the DC world since you brought up invoked Superman. It was Batman Day on Saturday, National Batman Day, which was really fun. And we got a little treat from the filmmaker, Matt Reeves, the filmmaker of The Batman, as well as the composer of The Batman. So Matt Reeves sent off this. You can see him there. There's a photo he tweeted of him busy at work on The Batman. And we get a nice shot there. I believe we haven't seen Robert Pattinson's Batman with the bat claw, the batarang, the grappling hook there, yet in a photo. So we get a nice photo of the bat claw. As well as we got to hear a little bit of the score from Michael Giacchino. And while, of course, we can't play that score for you here due to copyright reasons, I will say that it sounds very, very Dark Knight to me, very Batman-esque. It had really that sort of deep, dark tones that you're looking for from a Batman score. So let me start with our guest, Nestor. What was your thoughts on the photo, on sort of getting your first shot at the bat claw and hearing the music, and also Matt Reeves sort of teasing that, you know, you're going to get the next trailer at the DC Fandom in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, 1 year after we got that amazing teaser that we couldn't believe that he was able to come up with that in such a short notice. And I think that also told us that this movie is not going to be requiring as much special effects as other superhero movies, but still he's kind of working on it around the clock. And remember, that movie was supposed to come out now, like in October, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously this is gonna be a massive project that until the very last minute they're gonna be working on it and tweaking. And it is a stressful situation. And Batman may be the greatest detective, but I was able to spot something on that photo. Yeah. I don't know if you want to go back to that photo.
Yeah. What did you see,
please.
Nestor?
We have Detective Nestor is on something the case.
Right to his water. You see that kind of plastic container.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
No.
I know what that is.
What is it?
Come back to me.
What is that?
I know.
Wait, we got to take off the photo.
Clorox wipes?
No. This is a stress relief supplement. It's called Calm. I'm pretty sure that he's having gummies, not powder. Okay, but this is a magnesium supplement that is supposed to, release your tensions in a natural way. And the fact that he has this on his desk, I think that's very exciting. So
much
I don't think the person taking the photo realized they left that on the table. They would have probably taken that off. But that's a good eye, Nestor.
Oh, thank you.
Nice, Nestor.
Thank you. But yeah, super excited. I mean, I don't really need anything else. In Matt Reeves, I trust. I love what he did with the Planet of the Apes movies. Michael Giacchino worked with him in the last one that I think that is phenomenal. And in terms of the still photo we get, we kind of see that in passing in the previous teaser. I think maybe when he's inside the Gotham Police Department, I think that he's doing a breakout or something's going on there. And I'm pretty sure that he uses the bat claw. So nothing that revealing, but still very exciting. In terms of the gloves, I think that those are just kind of surgical, gloves. He's not trying to emulate the Joker or anything else. And in terms of the score itself, I wonder if this is the Riddler's theme, because it feels very ominous. It has a little bit of that Batman the Animated Series fanfare, but it's like very dark. So I don't know if that's going to be attached to the hero or the main villain of the movie.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Wendy, what were your thoughts from seeing the photo and hearing a little bit of the score?
Just when I see the photo, just like Nestor, we've been very excited over here at the household for the Batman movie ever since the trailer that we got. It was the 2020 DC Fandom that we got the first look at the trailer, and I was just blown away at how much I liked it, how much I was impressed by it. I cannot wait for Robert Pattinson to actually see him in the cowl, in action, sitting down in the movie theater. So just seeing the photo, the movie being worked on, he's under obviously tremendous pressure if he needs a little calming supplement, but don't we all? It just makes me very excited, and I feel like Matt Reeves is somebody that takes so much pride and so much care into every project that he touches that I have no doubt this is going to be a really fantastic film. I've already, from what we've seen from the trailers and photos, I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far. And then on top of that, adding Michael Giacchino's score. And I like what Nestor said here about that could possibly be the Riddler's theme. I hadn't even thought about that. Mm-hmm. When I heard it, I just went, oh, the music sounds so great. That was just like the most just very excited, accepting, welcome reception to hearing the score. But now thinking about it, it is kind of got that dark undertone, that gritty, which is like, it could also fit for Batman, but it's not.
Right.
It's not. It's similar to things we've heard in the past, which I love because we're staying within that same theme, that same universe, but it is different. So like, now I'm going to be watching the movie, listening for the score, and if the Riddler comes on the screen, is it going to have that music behind it? I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it, like both of you, and have been excited for it. I mean, I think Warner Brothers has a lot riding on this. Obviously, it's Batman. It's their marquee character. Rather than going forward more with Ben Affleck, they're going a brand new Batman. So I think there's a lot riding on this and the world that Matt Reeves is creating. I agree with you, Nestor. I have faith in Matt Reeves. He's a fantastic filmmaker. I guess my only fear is that because it's Batman Year 2, which is almost indistinguishable from Batman Year 1, I fear that it might be a little too similar to the Nolan movies. But I think, Matt Reeves is a great filmmaker. Like I said, I think hopefully his tone and the different characters they use will kind of separate itself from the Dark Knight stuff. And especially Dark Knight stuff was very real worldy. So I get the idea that Matt's really creating, his own world in this Gotham. So yeah, very excited for whatever comes next as far as trailers or footage at DC Fandom. We also had another, while we're staying on the Batman topic, actually this morning, I believe the director of The Flash sent out this photo, obviously a mashup of the Michael Keaton Batman suit painted red and with the Flash lightning. I have no idea what this means. I don't know what they're trying to say with it, if this is actually a costume that's featured in the film or if this is some sort of fun mashup they just sort of did behind the scenes and are sending it out there to get people excited. But I mean, I think it looks cool. Wendy, let me throw it to you. Do you think this is actually a costume we're going to see someone wear in the movie, or do you think this is more of sort of a get the fans excited kind of thing?
I think I'm going to go with the latter and saying something that it's going to get fans excited for. I mean, like, there's obviously that 10-20% of me that's like, I guess we could see it in the movie 100%. Like, I never never doubt anything. Like, it's possible, but I feel that it is just more to get the fans excited. Though I do wonder, and I know this is first and foremost a Flash movie, and we're all very excited for Keaton to return and reprise his role as Batman. Like, I cannot wait to see him in the cowl again. So many cowl talk. But is it feeling like they're hinting at a lot of Batman in the film when it's supposed to be a Flash movie? That kind of worries me a little bit. Now, if it's for marketing, that's totally fine. Like, that would it does get me excited to go and see the Flash film, but I don't want to see a Flash film that's mostly a Batman movie right, with featuring the Flash. It should be the other way around. So all these like Batman talk and promo stuff, which hopefully, again, it's just promo. I just hope that it doesn't give us kind of an insight at like the movie, what it would actually shape up to be.
I agree with you. I think there should be a fear that the Flash movie is becoming the Batman movie with the Flash also there. And I think that's something that they should try to stay away from. I also have faith in this filmmaker that that's not going to happen. I think that clearly Michael Keaton returning as Batman is the selling point on the movie.
Oh yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense that, and as well as Ben Affleck's, possibly his last time in the Batsuit. So I think that there is a lot. I understand why they're sort of promoting that, but I agree with you. Like, I hope at the core it is a Flash movie that also has a couple Batmen and a Supergirl in it as well. Nestor, do you think Michael Keaton will have super speed in this movie? What are they saying with this costume?
Super slow-mo. No, I think that the fear, it is, it makes sense because it reminds you of another Michael Keaton superhero movie that is Spider-Man, Homecoming. You know, we have Iron Man being the mentor and in a way eclipsing, you know, Spider-Man's own story. And it was all about having the MCU into that Sony universe thing that they're going for. In terms of what this could mean, if this is part of the movie, the only way that this makes sense to me is that in a multiverse or, I don't know, dystopian future or something, we see Barry wearing this as a kind of salute to his fallen mentor, and this Batman passed away, and in a way to honor him, he's wearing his suit, and something like that to me makes sense on the emotional level. But again, if they're playing the multiverse, literally everything is possible.
Right. That's an interesting theory. It does look like it's the Michael Keaton Batsuit, but easily his Batman could pass away, and maybe he, Barry wears an inspired. I don't know, but it's an interesting theory that you thrown out there, Nestor. We will just have to wait and see, and hopefully maybe we'll get some more answers on the Flash at DC Fandom in a few weeks. A little bit more DC news before we move on to other things. Also, last week we got our first look, thanks to Entertainment Weekly, at the Peacemaker TV series. You can see, obviously, John Cena returning as the Peacemaker. A few of the characters, Steve Agee, and a few of the other characters that were Amanda Waller's sort of cronies in the Suicide Squad will return, as well as our first look at Freddie Stroma as Adrian Chase Vigilante. And last night, actually, during the Emmys, HBO Max premiered sort of what I'll call, I guess, a sizzle reel of everything to sort of be excited, to subscribe to HBO Max for the next few months, including Dune and the Sex in the City reboot, as well as the Peacemaker series. So we actually got to see our first footage from the series. So Nestor, let me throw it to you. Were you a fan of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad? Are you looking forward to the Peacemaker series, or do you feel like it's sort of a waste of time since the film didn't do box office what the studio had hoped?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but in my review, when I ranked my favorite characters, this character was at the bottom. I didn't like Peacemaker at all. And not just because he's a bad guy, so I don't like it because he's a bad guy. I mean, some of the best characters in comic book history, they are villains. But I think that he embodied the issue I had with the movie in terms of not just tone, going to this very cruel place so often, kind of without any need. And then on the humor side, that obviously appeals to James Gunn. But in general, I think that the movie thinks that it is funnier than it actually is. And humor is totally subjective, of course. But when the movie ended, I was like, why should I be interested in a Peacemaker spin-off? I don't get it. We were talking about Batman.
Right.
And obviously this is a strategy that Warner Media is following with now the announcement of the Penguin having its own series as well. But this was weird. I mean, aren't we supposed to fall in love with the character you are presenting in one product for the next one? And I get what James Gunn is saying, that, now we are going to have the time to really get to know him and know his backstory and his relationship with his dad. And now we are going to be able to care and see that he's not that irredeemable after all. Isn't it too little too late? Right now, I don't care. And I need more. I need more to start understanding why we are supposed to be on board with this spin-off series. I don't get it. I think that they were too excited with James Gunn. Remember, at the beginning, they were offering him everything. You want to do Superman, you want to do this, you want to do whatever you want to do. And before they had any sense of how this movie was going to perform, they said yes and greenlit this project. I'm hoping that is the best show in history. But right now, I need much more.
You brought up some really good points, Nestor, and I totally agree. Like, look, I loved The Suicide Squad. I loved James Gunn's movie. I watched it like 7 times its opening weekend. Like, I've never done that with anything. I love it. I will agree with you. Peacemaker is not my favorite character coming out of it. I mean, I loved Bloodsport. I actually loved Rick Flag this time around, not so much the first time, but this time. And so those are characters that I would have loved to see more of. So and now I can tell you the reason why, Warner Brothers and HBO Max is doing this is John Cena. John Cena is one of the biggest stars in the world, and James Gunn, and they were desperate to get, they wanted David Ayer's Suicide Squad desperately to be James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. So the fact that they finally got the director they wanted, I understand why they let him, they said you could do whatever you want. So yeah, I'm a little less jazzed for Peacemaker. I agree with you. He's not quite, he was the villain of the movie, really, and so in a lot of ways, along with Amanda Waller and of course Starro. So I think that but I love James Gunn. I love DC. So I'm going to give this a chance. I'm excited for it. Wendy, what were your thoughts from seeing the footage and sort of Nestor's, kind of piggybacking on what Nestor said, like, do you think that they should have done this series?
I think it's interesting considering, without giving any spoilers away, I don't know if we're still in that spoiler territory. The movie's been like, it's literally now like not even on HBO Max anymore.
Yeah, no, you're good. Okay. You're good.
Well, we come to the end of the movie, you're just kind of like, wait, so this is where this character ends up. And it's interesting to see a prequel of this character as opposed to maybe a sequel, like an in-between. If let's say we get another Suicide Squad, like 2.5 or something like that. And then kind of picking up Peacemaker's story from the end of the movie and bridge it to the next movie. Like, I think that would have been really cool. So having a prequel was interesting. I did enjoy Peacemaker in the film, but I do think I enjoyed him because of his interaction, most importantly with Bloodsport. I think the two of them, the team up and kind of the competitiveness, the cat and mouse, the wordplay going back and forth is really hilarious, and that's what made those characters fun to watch together, especially in that camp scene, like the competing, like how many can you kill, how many can I kill, in the most creative and brutal way. So I will tune in because I thought Cena had fun with that character. I think it's a character that he can do well. It's kind of interesting to see a man who's like, I'm all about peace, but I'm going to get it in whichever way possible. Women, children, animals, they're on my list as long as I get peace. So it's a real interesting take on a villain that, and I am curious to see it, but I do wonder how many people, aside from the three of us, will be tuning in because Suicide Squad didn't do that well in the box office, which I am still so surprised by because I liked it so much. Yeah, no, me too. But that is a weird, when has a studio ever greenlit a TV series based on a failed movie? You know what I mean? Like, it is. Well, it was greenlit prior, so I guess. Well, exactly. Right. Yeah. They weren't expecting it to not be financial success. And I think this is what you were sort of creeping around, but I'll just say it, Wendy. Yeah, that end credit scene where they bring him back to life did seem like a cheap excuse for the series. But the series is a prequel, right? It actually, I don't believe it is. It may have some prequel elements, and I think it was very early on reported as a prequel, but I believe it's a straight-on sequel to the series. That's my understanding at this point. That makes more sense. Yeah. It makes more sense for the ending, and James Gunn has said as much. He's like, we shot that ending while we were shooting the series because when I finished the movie, the series hadn't been greenlit. So he went back and added that for the movie so that the series would make sense. And again, that seems a little bit like a cheat, but
I give a lot of elbow room to James Gunn, so we'll let that one go.
Yes.
We had speaking of singularity and visionary directors, the great Guillermo del Toro released this past week the trailer to his new film Nightmare Alley. It's actually based loosely on a 1947 film of the same title, and features Bradley Cooper. You can see here as sort of a carnival con man, if you will, who then meets his match in an actual psychiatrist played by Kate Blanchett. So in sort of what you would expect from Guillermo del Toro, you have a hard time sort of grasping maybe what the exact story is on the in the film from the trailer, but certainly you get all the sort of tone and sort of stuff you would expect from a Guillermo del Toro film. I'm excited for it. I have to say, I'm a huge fan of Guillermo del Toro as a human being and as a filmmaker and as a voice in pop culture. I think he's one of our greatest champions. I don't always love his movies. I just have to be honest. Love the Hellboys, love Pacific Rim. Was a little underwhelmed with Shape of Water, so yeah, no, I know, and I just have to be honest.
I love that movie so much.
No, I get it, and listen, I recognize it as a brilliantly made film. It just didn't work for me personally, but that doesn't mean anything. So, so for me, I'm a little more trepidatious, especially, I'd love to see Guillermo take a swipe at, Doom Patrol theatrical
Give the
film.
man Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to see him because I'm not really a horror person, and I know he does dabble in horror or semi-horror a lot. So I'd love to see him do something a little bit more bright and shiny, which is why I like Pacific Rim a lot. But I am looking forward to this. Nestor, let's go to you. Are you a big Guillermo fan? And what did you think of the trailer and sort of the movie he's presenting here?
I am. I love all his movies as a director. I have a problem with the movie that he produces. Most of them are not that good.
That's a good point.
I think he's a master, and if you had a chance to talk to him, I mean, he's the one that I would like to be in kind of a Groundhog Day situation, interviewing the same person every day.
Yeah,
because he's such an amazing, tour, and he's like a teacher, right?
Absolutely.
I know that he has been, behind these classes on Hitchcock, on film history, and he's so fascinating. And I have been waiting for this movie for a long time. It was in my top 10 most anticipated movies for 2020. Right. And the movie started shooting March last year. Obviously, had to stop production, and we are getting the film now. Obviously, Searchlight is trying to position it as an awards contender. And I think that's connected to the fact that I think that the trailer itself is a bit of a con, in the sense that they're trying to make this connection with Shape of Water, with William Dafoe's character, not just selling the show in the circus, but kind of selling the movie, popping this question like 3 times: is he man or beast? Man or beast? Man, beast, this creature, blah, 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 blah. And obviously you watch the visuals, you hear that, and you made the connection with Shape of Water. And I guess that's not what this movie is. I'm not sure if there is any kind of supernatural element to it. Maybe it is, but I think mostly it's going to be kind of a film noir kind of, backstabbing, treason, passion kind of film. And they are, at least for the first teaser, positioned as something that may be more supernatural. And just by the cast and the filmmaker and everybody involved, I'm super excited. And the trailer does a good job because it really intrigues you without saying too much, and you are hooked. So as a promotional piece, I think that is very good. Is it that honest? I don't know. Let's see.
Well, that's an interesting point, Nestor, because if there's any filmmaker that could sort of subvert our expectations, in that way, it would be Guillermo, right? It's very easy to think that, I mean, I'm almost thinking from what you said, like The Prestige. Remember that movie, The Prestige, where you sort of thought it was something and then you found out it's just kind of a con? I wonder if that's maybe at play here. And I think audiences would sort of eat that up because they're expecting certain things from Guillermo. Wendy, what did you think of the trailer?
Big Guillermo fan here. And as I expected, it's gorgeous from beginning to end. And anytime you watch any sort of Guillermo product, you can tell whether it's Pacific Rim or Hellboy or Crimson Peak, everything is beautiful from beginning to end. So this very much follows his same style of aesthetics. Though I don't think, we know that Guillermo loves a good creature moment. I don't feel like we're going to get that in this one just by looking at the trailer. I feel like I've read somewhere in one of the comments on the YouTube channel that there isn't even actually like fantastical elements, apparently, because I know this is also a remake, I believe. So I haven't explored too much into that, but I think I've got enough time to maybe do a little dive into it. So I think I will. I also love the cast. I don't believe I've ever seen Bradley Cooper and Toni Collette and Cate Blanchett and Willem Dafoe together in a film. And these are
Rooney
all
Mara.
dynamic. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't seen her in things for a while. So I've been like, I've been waiting for this to come out for a long time. The trailer didn't disappoint because like what Nestor said is, it gives you a look into this world, the story that they're going to tell. But if you don't already know the story, you're very intrigued, especially if you're a Guillermo fan. And there's a lot of mystery surrounding the trailer and the way they did it, where there's not a lot of dialogue other than Willem Dafoe's voice, doing a little voiceover over all the pictures. I'm sold. I was sold before I saw the trailer, though, so I don't know if that's saying much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sold on Guillermo as a filmmaker enough to see it, even though it might not be the genre I would normally gravitate to. But make no mistakes, brilliant filmmaker and brilliant voice in our industry. And every time I've ever interviewed Guillermo, it's one of the best. So very excited for anything he does. Yeah, Wendy.
Yes. And if you're looking for something that's a little bit like quote unquote brighter from Guillermo, make sure you check out Troll Hunters. It is animated. It's on Netflix and it's fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I remember when he was doing that series. I don't think I've ever seen it, but based on Wendy's recommendation, I'll check that out.
Yeah. Featuring, I think the first season featuring the voice of the late Anton Yelchin.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, moving on. Actually, we got some Star Wars news today. We actually got a couple pieces of Star Wars news. Let's start with this. One of our favorite actors, Szany Kang. Oh, we're gonna get there. One of our favorite actors, of course, Sun Kang. You know him as Han from the Fast and the Furious movies. We knew that he was going to appear in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series for Disney Plus. We didn't know what role he would be having, but he kind of dropped a big one this past week where he said that he will be wielding a lightsaber in the series. Now, let's take that with a grain of salt. I think everyone jumps to, oh, he's a Jedi. I mean, could be. But he also could just be a guy who Obi-Wan drops his lightsaber and then his character picks it up. So let's be fair here. It could go either way, but let's assume for a second that he is playing a Jedi. Wendy, how amazing is that? Go.
I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready to see him in that tan, the earthy tone cloak, just walking in the desert next to Obi-Wan Kenobi, just having the conversation of their life, maybe recounting how they were impacted by Order 66 and like how they were able to avoid, how they were able to survive through Order 66. Did they fight together in the Clone Wars? Did they have any sort of, maybe they don't see eye to eye on certain policies back in the, when the Jedi Council was a thing, who knows? It's really interesting. And if I feel like if he had a lightsaber, a Jedi lightsaber, it would be green.
Ooh, so I was going to say purple.
Oh, I feel like that's a very Mace Windu specific.
Well, it is. I mean, but you could say green is a Yoda color. So
this is true.
Yeah.
This is true. This is true.
There's only so many colors in the spectrum.
Orange.
So
orange lightsaber.
Ooh, Well, I mean, there should be an orange
Make
one.
it, yeah.
That would be good. So you're thinking he's sort of a lost Jedi that escaped Order 66 and survived.
If he were to be a Jedi, I think so.
If he were to be a Jedi, I think I'd go with that theory as well. Nestor, Jedi or no Jedi? What do you think? Oh,
I'm not in the liberty to discuss this. Neither to.
There it is.
That looks like Luke's. Luke's.
Let me know when we get the money to do the post-production on that one.
You have to know. You have to do the sound yourself.
We are very constrained by budget. That's a possibility. I mean, yes, it could be just a guy like Timothy Olyphant in Mandalorian that picked that up. I think that what the show needs is a good villain. Obviously, we know we're going to have Darth Vader himself, but I think that you're going to need someone else to be kind of that muscle. And in theory, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan didn't meet. That was kind of the canon or the story that we thought it was true during this time period. So I think we are going to need someone facing off with Obi-Wan with a lightsaber. So to me, he has to be an antagonist. And I think that the internet right now is going in the direction of probably he being a part of the Order of the Inquisitors that are supposed to be order that they hunt down all the remaining Jedis. And knowing that Dave Filoni has been bringing many things from the animated side, I think something like this would make sense. So if that is the case, sign me up. I don't know how happy or unhappy is Lucasfilm with this revelation.
Well, so Nestor, you're going Sith instead of Jedi. You're saying you're going headed towards Sith. Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't know if they're Sith themselves, or they're just under their order.
Right.
But the idea, I think that they were kind of part of the light side, and they were turned, and something's going on there. I'm not the biggest expert in the lore, but I believe that we are talking about dark side here, and it makes sense because who can face Obi-Wan?
Right. That's very interesting. Good thoughts. Well, we actually have a little bit of breaking Star Wars news, and this gets a little bit into inside baseball here, but it's pretty interesting, or we all thought it was interesting. So Marcia Lucas, who of course is George Lucas's ex-wife, but also an editor in her own right. She edited the first Star Wars and Return of the Jedi, and I believe she's uncredited, but did work in editorial on Empire. And of course, actually worked with Martin Scorsese before that on Taxi Driver and Alice Doesn't Live There Anymore. She was interviewed for a book, and she had some interesting comments. I'll read them real quick. I like Kathleen. I always liked her, talking about Kathleen Kennedy. She was full of beans. She was really smart and really bright, really wonderful woman. And I liked her husband, Frank Marshall. I like them a lot. Now that she's running Lucasfilm and making movies, it seems to me that Kathy Kennedy and J.J. Abrams don't have a clue about Star Wars. They don't get it. And J.J. Abrams is writing these stories. When I saw that movie where they kill Han Solo, I was furious. I was furious when they killed Han Solo. Absolutely, positively, there was no rhyme or reason to it. I thought, you don't get the Jedi story. You don't get the magic of Star Wars. You're getting rid of Han Solo. And she goes on to say, they have Luke disintegrate. They killed Han Solo. They killed Luke Skywalker, and they don't have Princess Leia anymore. And they're spitting out movies every year, and they think it's important to appeal to a woman's audience. So now their main character is this female who's supposed to have Jedi powers, but we don't know how she got Jedi powers or who she is. It sucks. The storylines are terrible, just terrible, awful. You can quote me, J.J. Abrams, Kathy Kennedy, talk to me. Wow. There is a lot to unpack there.
That's a whole quote.
Yeah, that is a whole, and I think there might have even been some more that I didn't read.
I want to get the book.
I think everyone's going to be getting the book now. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I do have to say, in defense, I think that she's wrong at the end. We do, I mean, obviously didn't in the beginning know who Rey was, but we find out who Rey is. We find out where her powers come from. Now, you can like the choice they made or not like the choice they made. That's fine. But I think the attempt is certainly, worthy. But overall, I have to say, I kind of agree with her, at least in the idea that I think Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams, I think they had some missteps, let's say, to be kind, with this trilogy. So, I think there are some valid points there. I just probably wouldn't have put it as bluntly as Marcia did. Wendy, I know that you were very intrigued by this story. What are your thoughts?
It's really interesting to kind of like, I feel literally like a fly on the wall where I'm in that room and somebody who's just like, well, here are my thoughts. And this isn't just some person who loves Star Wars and is a big fan. Like, she literally not just worked on it, but also like very close to the people who had to do with it. So it's really interesting. And it goes to show how much, many Star Wars fans treasure the original story and the original lore, and the new sequels, I guess is what we're calling them, doesn't quite embrace that. It definitely tried. And, I think out of the 3 movies, I would say I enjoyed The Force Awakens the most. Out of the 3, I thought The Last Jedi was shot beautifully, but there were some areas in the story that I had problems with. So with that said, I think what she is saying is that why, and I think many of us said this, why do you feel that you need to get rid of the 3 original characters? Like, I kind of felt like that when they killed Han Solo. It was a big shocking moment. And I thought, why did they like there was a part of me hoping that somehow he'd come back because there was no body. Like, how that kind of that in fantasy, fantastical films, like there's no body.
He kind of did come back technically, but
not in physical form, right?
Correct.
So that was like a big shock to the, is this how we're passing on the torch sort of a thing? And then, obviously with Carrie Fisher, that was a very tragic incident. And so it definitely felt different in the later Star Wars films where you didn't have her physically able to obviously be on set and you have to use older footage of her. And like, I will take it because that's what I could get of Carrie Fisher.
Yes.
And I definitely don't feel like we can have Star Wars without, Leia Organa. And then what they did with Luke was, I think I wasn't completely pleased with what they did after that big showdown I was like, oh, this is happening. But it's not actually happening. So I was overall, kind of disappointed by the last film.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I really, really like Force Awakens a lot, and I kind of loved Last Jedi. And then I just think that they listened to too many of the fans who are complaining about Jedi and tried to course correct a little too late. To be fair, I believe that Harrison Ford would not have come back at all if they didn't agree to kill him off in the first film.
But the thing is,
I think that's a little out of their hands, but I agree with you 100% on Luke. They never should have done what they did with Luke. That was a waste of Mark Hamill. And I think they plan to do more with Carrie Fisher later, which, I think the lesson learned there is don't wait.
Do it.
So I didn't want to cut you off.
There's no try, just do. No, I was just saying, no, I agree with you about like the Harrison Ford. Maybe, he's kind of like, hey, I kind of, have not that he doesn't appreciate Han Solo, but like maybe perhaps moved on or something like that and do other things. But you don't need to kill off a character just so they can't return. Like there's other ways to write that out.
Sure.
or you can
unless
film.
the actor is demanding that. That's my only point.
Correct.
If
And
the
we don't know
actor
that.
is demanding that, which was always the case I understood.
Ah.
But yeah, that he would not. I mean, he wanted his character to die in 1983. He just, you know what I mean? Like,
okay, well then that's different. That's
yeah,
very
yeah,
different.
yeah. That's a different thing. Yeah, Nestor, I want to get you a chance to weigh in here on all the Star Wars.
Okay, how many hours do we
Marcia
have?
talk.
One
You
more
got,
hour, go.
you got
Awesome.
14 minutes. Go.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, for a moment I was wondering, is she talking about the latest trilogy or the prequels? I mean, because if I have to choose, I choose this latest trilogy. To me, the what J.J. Abrams did after the prequels, it was remarkable. I mean, he had no choice but to go into certain places to remind us what was special about Star Wars. And given the circumstances, I think that he did a fantastic job, and he proved with The Force Awakens that he gets Star Wars. In regards to Kathleen Kennedy, the main valid complaint is that there was no plan at the very beginning. They had this kind of Harry Potter approach, like, oh, every director comes in and he can write the story, and okay, but why? Why the directors didn't pretty much talk to each other? And then the whole Colin Trevorrow situation obviously is far from the oil machine that you expect from a conglomerate like this. And the biggest disaster was Solo. The biggest issue with these new movies is Solo: A Star Wars Story. What happened with Laura Miller, let them shoot the movie for 80%, firing them, getting somebody else at the last minute. Still, the movie is fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with the end result, but obviously it was a very bad idea. Bob Iger was also behind it. So it's not just her fault, but it was a objective disaster in terms of box office, of the cost of the movie, how they look. Like they look a little bit clueless with that film. Let's be honest with that. But then I enjoy all of these movies, including the last one, because I understand what you said, Jamie, that given the circumstances and you, Wendy, the backlash they got with Last Jedi, I defended Last Jedi, so I can tell you that there was a lot of backlash. So when I hear to her remarks, it sounds like disgruntled fanboy that is hating on something and is in a way kind of insulting people just because the thing that happened is not what he or she wanted to happen. And I think that's unfair. And I think that it's a little bit below of what someone that has been part of the industry and knows these people personally should behave like. So
that's a great point, Nestor. Great point.
Yes.
It's her opinion. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. But I think that there are better ways to express it. And obviously the whole Star Wars situation merits a much bigger conversation. But let's also step back and say that Kathleen Kennedy has been one of the biggest producers in Hollywood for a long time, working with Steven Spielberg. I mean, she's super smart. She's super capable. Oh, yeah. But I agree that things should have been different looking back.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And good point. Marcia's comments seemed quite disgruntled. And you almost wonder why so disgruntled. They're just movies that we all enjoy. And I do have to say, I mean, I think that Dave Filoni and Favreau are sort of, taking things in the right direction on Disney Plus. So, we're all optimistic for Patty Jenkins' Star Wars film. So, yeah, we're all Star Wars fans and we're along for the ride. But this sort of palace intrigue is very interesting, this behind the scenes. Well, before we run out of time, I want to talk a little bit about episode 6 of What If this past week, Marvel's What If. And it was an really interesting episode. It's basically was what if Killmonger saved Tony Stark. And so because Tony Stark is not kidnapped by the Ted Rings, he does not become Iron Man. I wasn't sure where this episode was going. I thought that it was going to sort of be like, like Killmonger becomes a good guy, and then you realize Killmonger is always going to be Killmonger. He sort of infiltrates himself inside Tony's life, but we'll just say that the disgruntleness that he had with the Wakandans and his sort of his problem with them and his sort of world view is not any different in this universe, and ends up really sort of taking over Wakanda and Tony Stark's life. Let's talk about the episode. I enjoyed it. I think coming off of the Marvel Zombie episode, it's a little bit, the Marvel Zombie episode was really great. So I think this is a little bit of a back step. Not a bad episode by any means. I'd probably put it with sort of that, Yellow Jacket kills the Avengers episode, or the Doctor Strange one, where it's really interesting, but maybe not as great as the Star-Lord T'Challa episode or the zombie episode or Peggy Carter. And also, I just want to say before I pass it on to you guys, I'm really, really shocked at how dark this series has become. I mean, almost every episode, I guess with the exception of the first two with Peggy Carter and T'Challa, every episode since then has become, the Doctor Strange one, like there's no world,
Heavy.
And then, and Thanos at the end, the zombie Thanos. And then this one, hats off to Marvel for really going, almost PG-13R with the animation and really, really going super, super dark. Like I said, sometimes I think you have a big swing and a hit with zombies and maybe, a double with Killmonger. But it's always great to see Michael B. Jordan back as this great character, as well as this was the third voicing on the series we got from Chadwick Boseman. I don't know if this is the end of his recorded voices. I feel like he at least did one more T'Challa Star-Lord. Yeah, so that's what I thought. So we'll at least get to hear him one more time. Nestor, let me hit it with you. What were your thoughts on this episode? Did it quite hold up coming off of the zombies?
I really liked it. And to be honest, the zombies episode for me was fun. It wasn't one of my favorites necessarily. I think that the one with the murder mystery was very good. The first one with Agent Carter, this one I think it was solid. And in terms of the darkness, it's interesting how much they're exploring the element of death in this last episode. You have the murder mystery, everybody dying, then Doctor Strange, characters dying all the time, zombies obviously die, but at least from a more kind of colorful, fun perspective. This one, when he kills people in cold blood, it's like, woo! That is kind of dark. That is kind of heavy. When you see a character doing that with a certain agenda and purpose. And I think that is interesting because in a way, this episode shows that probably Killmonger has been the most dangerous human that they have faced, because he was formidable from the physical aspect, his mind. He's kind of an evil genius, and he's willing to do anything to get to his goals. So a reminder of how an amazing character Killmonger is, next to Loki, next to Thanos, probably this later version of the Mandarin, let's say, in Shang-Chi. But I think that was great. And the T'Challa funeral, obviously they did this before Chadwick Boseman's passing. The question is, are we going to see something like this in the next movie, Wakanda Forever? I think that we might. And that got me a little bit emotional. And again, the action, the colorful, dynamic scenes that we have, for example, at the end with the battle in Wakanda, really amazing. And the only kind of asterisk is that ending. I know that these are going for a kind of Twilight Zone, like pum 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 ending. This one felt a little bit incomplete, right? It's like, okay, I really want to see Shuri and Pepper teaming up. Okay, what's going on? What's next here? And we don't have that. I know that the creators have said that they're planning to expand on these stories in season 2, but I would have preferred a little bit more, closure. I know there is no time. They're throwing a lot of content in there, but overall, I was happy with it.
Excellent. Wendy, what did you think of this Killmonger episode? It was interesting because it's almost like a hybrid of the Iron Mans and the Black Panthers together.
Yes.
We just needed Justin Hammer and it would have been perfect.
and no Trevor.
Right. Yeah.
I enjoyed Killmonger so much when we watched Black Panther, and so when he didn't make it out alive at the end of Black Panther, I was kind of disappointed because I was like, yes, we have this complex villain, right, super smart, is able to fight, and is able to also play mind games. He's always like 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of you, and that's what made him really interesting. And it's like, you don't want to root for the bad guy, but at the same time, you're kind of like, well, this man's kind of brilliant, and he really has like, this is my end game, and it doesn't matter how I get there, as long as I get there. And it's all, and that is one of the most dangerous villains because nothing will stop them. Not even their own family. You see it in this episode, uncle, cousin, niece, or cousin. Yeah. Doesn't matter. So I was very happy that we were able to get a what if scenario what if he were to succeed. And I enjoyed watching this one, kind of not quite like murder mystery, episode 2 or 3 with the Ant-Man, the Hank Pym episode, but it was still one of those, you're trying to solve what's his gaining, what is he getting at here, by saving Iron Man, and therefore we don't have, or by saving Tony Stark, we don't get an Iron Man period, but we get Tony's tech, and it's just every single step, every piece of his action progressed him further in his end game, where he actually have embedded himself so deep inside Wakanda that he is the Black Panther, which is just brilliant. And I do wish this one, and I know all the episodes have been essentially open-ended, but this one felt the most, I could have watched another 2-3 minutes if they were able to jam a little bit more in there with, the conversation between Shuri and between Pepper Potts. But if that's what season 2 is going to do for us, then I will happily wait for a season 2, because there's a lot of stories I would like to see where they take us. And now going back into kind of the nostalgia part of it, after having Killmonger drink the whatever it is, right, where it takes him to the ancestral plane and having that final conversation with T'Challa, that got me. That got tears in my eyes a little bit. Yeah.
That's a great scene. I wish that it didn't sort of just cut off and end the way it did. But yeah, that was a terrific scene. Nestor.
One last thing. It is interesting how in this episode and in that kind of murder mystery episode, they are retconning the movies in terms of the recast. Edward Norton is no longer Hulk. That was Mark Ruffalo, and now Rhodey is Don Cheadle. He's not Terrence Howard.
Yes, I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, yes. Great.
They're using that opportunity. Yeah, that's
Nestor,
really
you got to come back more often so you can play detective.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for this week's episode. But I do want to thank you all for watching and just remind you that we are just one of the shows that the Hollywood Critics Association has launched this year. So you want to make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tune into Pop Council every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We also have several other shows we'd like you to check out. The Long Box with Tessa Smith and Janita Davis. That's Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Horrifically Horrifying on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. with Heather Wixon and Kevin Tent. Hollywood Approved with Yale and Kristen at 3 p.m. Pacific time. What to Stream on Thursdays at 11 a.m. hosted by Morgan Rojas. And What's Trending in Hollywood on Fridays at 11 a.m. hosted by Scott Menzel. And we have a brand new show we want to tell you about. It's called The Morning Show After Show, which is a weekly spoilers-filled recapitulation of the Apple TV Plus series, now in its second season. Join HCA's own Kira Lynn, Morgan Rojas, and Kevin Taft, plus special guests from the show to connect the dots the morning after. So we are all very excited for that series. Be sure to check that out. I want to thank Nestor, our guest this week. Nestor, tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter as Nestor Cine, at Nestor Cine, and on Instagram as Desde Hollywood.
Excellent. And Wendy, thank you. Another great show. Tell everyone where they can check you out.
Thanks, Jamie. You can find me on Instagram at Wendy Lee Szany, and on Twitter also by the same handle as just this right here, and on YouTube under the Movie Couple channel.
Awesome. And I'm Jamie Philbrick. You can find me at Philbrick on Twitter and Instagram, and just my name on Facebook. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week on Pop Council Podcast. Woohoo! Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.